What up, internet? It is your boy back again, RynoRyder. So we're all in quarantine. It's times like these that I really would love to be a musician. I would be slaughtering live streams right now. But you know, whatever you're comfortable, I am trying to take advantage of this time. It's March 31st. I finished that video. I've kind of, I've been culminating to that to March 28th for quite some time, and I'm over it. And I was kind of lost for a couple days of without direction. I'm waiting for things to happen because of that. And what can I do proactively? I've done so much and really built up such a strong foundation that what can I do moving forward? So I am focusing on my graphic novel and trying to get sales for that. So I'm running ads and things of that nature. But I thought, what can I do for my community and part of my journey that I'm going through? And so I have a stack of my scripts there, and some of the better feedback or better views on my channel have been ones where I talk about script breakdown, breaking down scenes, stuff like that. So I have a shit ton of knowledge in this space, so I'm just gonna go and start and do a full script analysis. Hold on. Full script analysis and breakdown for script that I wrote that I want to produce next. Sorry, the garbage truck's in the back. After the Anthill this year, so I want to make this film next year. It got close a couple years ago. We've had investors, things of that nature, but to reference my video, they were all C players, and they took a 116-page script and whittled it down to 83. And I was able to whittle it down to 83, still maintaining the integrity of the story, but they wanted more deaths. I had to open the scene with the death scene, just really typical C grade notes on a script that I think is fantastically complex, and it's all female cast, and it's just really, I think, explores the intricacies of female to female relationships in a group setting. So it's broken down, the script's broken down into 7 acts, and I am going to link up the script that I am using for this demonstration, or for this video series. I'm just gonna go and chop this up and later and see what comes out of it and see how far I get today, and possibly do another one tomorrow, and so on and so forth. So anyway, this is the seventh draft, dated July 16th, 2015. And so I'm just going to start from the fucking title page, and the script's linked up, so you can open it up and follow along with me if you want. I start with a quote. I don't always do that. And the quote is not something I completely made up. It's something I read online, something similar, and just kind of adapted it into my own thing. And the quote is, "Human nature is like Mother Nature. It is not black and white, but black and gray." Now, my purpose in that was the reason a lot of people put quotes on the cover page, on the title page of scripts, is if it's a quote, even if it's anonymous, if it's a well-written quote or a quote from somebody famous or something like that, it can really, at the first, think of it as like your first image in a film, that if it's well done, the story's well told, that first image, that first thing is very it's not extremely important. It's making the package prettier, and so while someone has only read the title, Bugs, we obviously have, we know it's going to be a horror movie, just basing off of, where I come from. It's going to have some, it's not a comedy. There's going to be some bugs in it. That's what I'm expecting. Human nature is like Mother Nature. So what does that mean? Human nature is like Mother Nature. So humans act like animals. It is not black and white, but black and gray. That statement right there, I think, tells that this story is not going to be black and white. There's not going to be necessarily good guys and bad guys. There's not necessarily going to be right and wrongs. I'm exploring morals here, and morals can be gray. So I thought it was a good quote to open up the piece with. Scroll down to, the first scene. I haven't read this in a while, so... the opening. So talk about the opening image. This is great. This was all cut out. Yeah, this eventually got cut out, but fade in motel room, bathroom carnage. So here I open the film and I open the screenplay with that same quote, and it's Skylar, our main character, doing a voiceover. And what I'm showing here is basically where the climax of the film happens. I'm going to go through this entire thing. I'm not going to include the last act in the climax. Just, I don't really care about spoilers or whatever, but it's easy enough to you'll get the value without necessarily having to have the end scene. But it ends in a motel, and there's carnage and blood everywhere, and footprints and blood. No people seen, no bodies, but just carnage and chaos. And there's gentle buzzing. Stuck in the puddle of blood as this fly buzzes a few more times as Skylar finishes the voiceover. I did a couple teaser trailers having Abby, who was at the time going to play Skylar, doing the voiceover, and same thing, just an extreme close-up of a bug moving. So we open with that. Okay, and then the next scene. So I'm not going to just say, let me tell you why I opened with that. I opened with that for the same reason that I put the quote on the cover page. It's the opening image of the film. You should always have an opening image, and your opening image should always be thought about. It shouldn't just be the first image, or it could be the first image, in the story, but that image should, doesn't always, and I'm guilty of this as well, it should represent what the film is all about. Hold on, I'm going to pause it right there. Okay, so I think how this is going to work, or how I'm going to do it, is I'm going to stop, or it's going to be an edit, and then I'm going to read the scene and then talk to you about that. So you can, when I stop it, you can read the scene and then hit play again when you go. Okay, so open with the voiceover in the motel, the foreshadow, okay? Then cut to, this is a horror film. It is, even Jaws. Jaws is a horror film. And what is the opening scene in Jaws? A fucking death, right? So horror films could have, you know what I mean? Like throwing a death in the, hook, that opening hook. It's been overdone and overpopularized, but still the greatest horror film, one of the greatest horror films of all time, Jaws, still has it. Right, so you can have that because this is a horror film, but a good one. So this is our hook, right? Insert title: Northern California. Okay, so this is just very, very simple. Farmer and field. He goes, he looks, and all you see is this shadow and sound of bugs flying over them. Okay. So right there, we just hook the audience that, there's like millions upon millions of bugs, like in Northern California, that are flying over, and it ends with the farmer saying, "Oh my God!" Cut. Hook. Also kind of establishes the origin of where these bugs come from. The origin behind the bugs, basically the plot of the story is a swarm of bugs overrun Los Angeles. And it's due to the drought in Southern California. over the years. If you Google that and look, I mean, it's based on actual factual things. At Coachella a couple years ago, it was overrun with locusts and all this stuff. It's a crazy video to watch, but so it does have like a factual basis. Okay. Now we open with our main character Skylar, the setting Seattle, Washington. Okay, the opening image of this next scene. Notice insert arm. A mosquito buzzes around the woman's arm. Suddenly her hand comes in and swats the bug. That's the opening image of the scene, right? So it relates to that opening hook, the bugs. Now look, the bugs are fucking tertiary of importance to me. Again, go to Jaws. Look at Jaws. Jaws, the shark has nothing to do with the story. Nothing to do with the story. It just propels the characters into motion, okay? But the drama is within the characters. This is a very similar approach in that manner. So that transition between those two scenes, the opening hook, and then the very next thing you see is just an insert close up of an arm before we even see our main character, although we've heard her in the voiceover. We cut from that and then we go directly to the face of Skylar. And she has been crying all night. It's early in the morning. There's her older ex-boyfriend now, Chris, sitting up. I've had this scene in my head for a long time, and so I just, without any specifics, just opening a film or a scene early in the morning. I don't know if you've ever had those arguments with a girlfriend or significant other that you've just argued through the night, and it's 4, 5, 6 in the morning and you're just exhausted. You know, it's pretty much the end of a relationship, this is what this is, 5-year relationship ending. And so we open, what's the first, again, actions and words. What's the first action that we see? Chris hands Skylar a Kleenex. So right off the bat, the audience, and she accepts it and says thanks. So right off the bat, we know that although they've been crying and you know, obviously upset about each other, they're still caring for each other, and especially the boyfriend too. Right, and so then we open with Chris, you know, saying "I still love you," and then boom, right there, Skylar, the audience finds out. I was gone for 2 days to see my aunt. 2 days. Notice you didn't fuck another girl. You didn't. I was gone for 2 days to see my aunt. 2 days. That right there, that piece of line, that bit of information, when that's given to the actor, that's meat for them to use. If the line was, Chris, Chris, why did you cheat on me? Chris, I can't believe you cheated on me. Chris, I don't care if you love me, you still fucked that girl. All those things are, in my opinion, are lines to be delivered by an actor, not lines to be processed by an actor. And I think great writing, you know, when people talk about dialogue and stuff like that, that's what it is. You need to give the meat of it. This is why it's fun to do a script that nobody's ever seen, that hasn't been shot yet, because you have nothing to compare it to. You know, if I was doing Seven, a script analysis of that, well, as soon as I read the scene or read the line, you can picture in your head who's delivering it. And so this way we stay with the paper, which I like. Basically, what happens in this scene between Chris and Skylar, we establish they've been 5 years. We establish that Skylar's lack of being impressed by bigger things. Chris owns his own company, obviously kind of comes from money. His parents have money. They want him to have a big wedding. She's saying, I just would go to the courthouse with you. And the realism that Chris, that we see here, the vulnerability in these characters is that Skylar knows Chris, and she knows that he's not 100. It's not like he's killing it on his company, and so she is able to identify that and call him out on those jabs. She eventually just, I mean, this is just drawing from personal experiences, being stagnant in a relationship, you know, but still loving each other, you know, and this is how relationships end, you know. I think it's pretty on the nose of that. And then Chris walks out, I'm sorry, Skylar, I love you. That's going to play out later. But basically what the scene does for Skylar, establishes Skylar as the main character. She ends and she's completely overflowed with emotions. She's obviously hurting. She obviously loved Chris. She doesn't want this to happen. But she does have some morals in terms of that he cheated on her or made out with the girl. Didn't even fuck her, just kissed her. And he took pictures, and the only reason she saw pictures on his phone. You know, a lot of girls have probably forgiven guys and vice versa for that. But she doesn't. So that says something about her character right there. Again, actions and words, man. Pay attention to them. Okay, and I'm on page 7, and I'm going to read that scene, then we'll interior Molly's bedroom morning, and then we'll do a little breakdown of that. Finished? Okay. I'm going to start adding the page number that I'm starting on. Maybe it'll help you keep track. Okay. So, we've established Skylar, established that she's just broken up with her boyfriend. And the next thing she does is we introduce Molly, her best friend. Molly, they don't live together, obviously. Don't live in the same area. And the reason that I can show this is that interior Molly's bedroom, early light in the morning sun creeps from behind the curtains, right? So we see sun coming in. And then when I was picturing to shoot this exterior Skylar's house, she stands on her deck, hot mug of tea in her hand, and we're going to be in Seattle. Their setting is in Seattle, so I thought by putting her outside, you could have it raining or show the trees and stuff like that. Just show the contrast, because Molly lives in LA, which we'll find out here in this scene. Okay, so Molly answers, "Are you okay?" And Skylar just says, "Chris and I are through." What happened? So this is where she tells the full story. We get to know a little bit more. She didn't have sex with him enough. What an idiot. Again, insert window. There's a fly just buzzing in the windowsill. And this could have nothing, it has nothing to do with the actual swarm that's coming. It's just, we want the audience to keep bugs in their mind throughout, because the bugs don't show up until halfway through the script, right? So we have to keep them held, keep it always in their mindset, in their forefront. We established Chris as an idiot. Now Molly was written after a friend of mine who at the time was going to play Molly, but now, this is 5 years later, we're all a lot older, and these characters are 25, so I'm thinking younger. But anyway, I wrote her after her. Shout out Whitney Rice. She's she's extremely funny. She's a comedian, so Molly is my comedic relief in this. I don't write comedies, but I think I write some pretty funny jokes and things in some of my scripts. And any good script has comedic moments to it. You give the person the whole package, give the audience the whole package. So she tells Molly right there that she doesn't know what to do. Chris was basically the last thing she had going for her up here. So what does that mean? So she doesn't have any family, right? Or else she would have called family. She would have called her parents. She would have said she has her parents. So we've established that Skylar is not by her best friend, or her best friend is her only person. She possibly doesn't have any family. She now doesn't have a boyfriend after 5 years. That's a long relationship. Now she's just said that she doesn't, or Chris was the last thing she has going up there. So Molly perks up and invites her to a visit. Oh, to LA? So now we establish where the film will take place. Oh, sure, I'm going to come to the worst city in the world, do a bunch of drugs, and get all weird. I love LA, but when you're in your 20s and, yeah, you come to LA, yeah, you do a bunch of weird stuff. Exactly. You remember Spain? That's just a personal story I took that, could be taken out that line. I'll buy your ticket. Skylar, I can afford my own ticket, Molly. It's not that. It's just right there. That's another bit of information that we're giving about Skylar's character. She can afford her own ticket. Okay. all right, so she's obviously somewhat independent. Even though she's coming off of a 5-year relationship, she's still financially independent. It sounds like she can buy her own ticket. It's another bit of information, just building this character. I can't think of a good reason not to start looking at it. I like that exchange. I can't, give me one good reason for you shouldn't start looking for flights as soon as we get off the phone. I can't. You can't what? I can't think of a good reason not to start looking. Yes, oh my god, okay. And then we end the scene with something about Molly that will come into play again, a little bit of comedic. It's a bit brash, but I think honest and realistic. I think I write female characters very well, because I find them far more interesting than male characters. They're a lot more complex. There's a lot more complexity with female characters, and pretty much all of my work, I have a female lead in all my stories. Okay, and so Molly ends the scene by pulling out her pink vibrator and basically masturbates. It's the only way she knows how to get back to sleep. I mean, we don't show the full thing, but just establishes she does that. And yeah, so some people might look at that like, oh, it's weird, but look, that's Molly's character. That's who she is, and that's a real, authentic thing. There are girls that do that, you know what I mean? Probably more than you realize. Or if you are a female, I mean, comment below and let me know. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, so there we go. So we've established those two scenes. Now I'm going to go on and read. I'm going to read the next two scenes together through the restaurant. I'm going to read all the way to page. It's a long scene in the restaurant. We'll go to the nightclub. Yep. I'm going to read to page 21. Okay. So read from page 11 to 21, and then come back. Okay, so Molly is taking control and steering the ship right through this opening, through the teen pages. All right, so starting at page 11, Molly's car, massive 747 roars down. Again, opening image of the scene, opening image of the setting, location. There's a street along Lincoln Boulevard right by LAX where it's a pretty straight shot you can drive, and the planes land right over it. It's been shot 1,000,000 times. Anyway, that's where that scene takes place in my head, and so you just have this massive jet roaring around, fucking beautiful blue sky, sunshine, palm trees in LA, right? It's gorgeous. So that sets it up. Been a while since she's been down there. This establishes Molly has been down in LA for a while, at least a few years. Okay, establish they're going where the next scene is going to take place. I think that's an important thing too, setting up the next scene so you have the audience it knows where the story is going to be going. So the entire time the audience is reading this or watching this film, their brain, whether subconsciously or not, is trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. So the dance that the screenwriter or the filmmaker, whatever, needs to play is that delicate balance between giving the audience enough information so that they can then predict what might come in the near future, 5-10 minutes, or even 30, 40, 50 minutes, but not giving them too much information so that they then get bored because they know what's going to happen already. This takes planning, this takes work, this takes intricacy, this takes dedication. This is the number one thing that I see lacking in amateur, I hate using the term amateur or non-professional, whatever. I'll just say fucking screenplays, period. Established, represented, or not. I think they miss that. They either over-explain things, they put descriptions or information in, to force feed the information just to get their idea across because they think their idea, this is a great fucking concept and great idea for a film, but I don't want to throw it in their face right away. You have to just gently bring them along. And as well, I'll get into it as it plays out. But okay, so in the car we also established that Molly is obviously there, whether she's an actress or not, exactly what she does in the entertainment business. We mentioned Michael Bay, shout out Michael Bay, I love him, and his company is in Santa Monica, but I think so she wants to impress people that are in the industry, right? And then we also established that they're going to we established the next main character, who is Jane. So how I had this, there's 5 characters, right? And here's Skylar, okay, as the head, and then I always pictured it like this. And this is Molly, and this is Jane, this is Amber, and Heidi. And Skylar is the focal point. And these, if you will, would be the good side leading up, and this is the bad side, but it's all directed and centered around Skylar. So we've established Molly, and now we're establishing Jane. Skylar obviously knows who Jane is, because she says, "Do you still see Jane?" And we see Molly shift a little bit, not as much since her show got picked up, so obviously Jane's an actress as well. And busier, or in this script is so, I wanted to really get some stuff out and really talk about the industry as well. And so in this world, in this case, Jane is, her star is higher above Molly's. She's coming to the club with us. Okay, now we established, we're going to a restaurant after this, but then we're also going to a club tonight. I just like Molly's, I just like her, how she talks. Skylar talking about Armani shirts, nobody makes Armani, douchebags, I don't think it's anything crazy except for, where is it? We establish more of Molly's character. She's willing to bang her way to the top, rotating dudes. Anyway, now we get to the restaurant. And this is a lengthy scene, 7-page scene. This whole script, there is a lot of dialogue in it. I'm usually anti-dialogue, and I wrote this script before my breakdown, and before I have this new kind of method of how I approach to writing and outlining a script and stuff like that. But the writing is still there, So anyway, so 7-page scene. Yeah, could this be edited down a bit? Yeah, but and I say to write the whole thing without dialogue. Yes, and you can write this whole thing without dialogue. And this is the point: when you have a story that is structured well, where the character's actions and the place that you're putting them in just propels the story forward, that allows you the breadth to have to, if you want to explore dialogue, and you can write dialogue well, here's your chance to do it. This is what Tarantino does. Tarantino structures the story, does all the math behind it and the characters and everything like that, and then when he allows himself to have those moments of dialogue, and he's really fucking good at writing it. So this whole section, Molly goes off about guys accusing, or when they're confronted on cheating, why is their first response, it's your fault. I think this stuff is all very true. I think she's very on point, because I've done this stuff personally. I was a Chris. I was beyond a Chris. Super douchebag. So this is very honest, because I used to do this stuff. Molly imitates him walking out and doing that. I think that's funny. Basically just ratting on Chris, and again, this to show Skylar's character, she defends him more than once. So even though he's cheated on her and all this stuff, she's still so loyalty is important to her, obviously, or or she's having a moral debate about it, The cancer thing, that's a funny joke, I think, that runs through this scene. Not to offend anybody who has had cancer or goes through it or anything, but people get cancer. And some people make big jokes about it, It's just because Abby was going to play this, and Skylar has super short hair and, looks like a boy, so there's tons of little jokes about that in terms of Skylar's appearance that I'd like to keep in, like when I cast this with younger people. Okay, so we just really drill down more the relationship of Skylar and Molly. We take the time to, if this were a romantic comedy, this would be exactly the scene that you'd want to see. And this was my goal in this, is to really take the time before the bugs hit, before the inciting incident, if you will, and just really lay down the strong foundations of this female group, and how they all interact with each other. Now here's a big foreshadowing thing that I think is really great. Okay, we're talking about Molly's giving her shit for wearing an oversized coat and layering, and she's like, it's fucking LA, Sky, get some skin on those white ass arms of yours. And Skylar, I tanned before I got here. No you didn't, you fucking hate tanning booths. Too claustrophobic. Come on, take it off. So Molly right there, again, just by her saying that, by Skylar trying to lie to Molly and Molly calling her out on that right there establishes that these two friends know each other well. And when she says too claustrophobic, that's going to come into play much later in the script. But I think that right there, that's even something more for the actor who's reading for that part of Molly to put in their brains when they're developing the character on themselves. Okay, so then we see the guys, they get shots, It's kind of a complex scene. There's a lot of moving parts, waiter coming in, out, women applauding over there, guys, a lot of moving parts, and it's an intricate scene for sure. And I've been told that I do well when there's multiple characters in a scene and playing them off of each other. And I've done that, a few times. Read Apocalypse, it's all 8 characters. Okay. Well, Lucker, we're going to drink someone else. Okay, so that's it. So again, just really even more so established the strength of Molly and Skylar's relationship. We established who Jane is, and that she is maybe not, looked at it as definitely not as close as Molly and Skylar are, right? But she is a player in this story. And we establish Molly's goal of wanting to get Skylar, wanting to have Skylar hook up with the dude. We establish a lot about LA, about the industry and things like that. And then we cut to that night in the nightclub. And so I'm going to read that. It's another long scene. And so pause now. Read, starting on the bottom of page 21. Okay. So, there's a massive scene, page 22 to 35. A lot happens in the scene. We introduce everybody, the rest of the characters, the 5 girls. So basically, here in this scene, where it's the first half of it, the first part of it, where it's a lot of industry talk. All the girls work within the industry in different fields, and just being in the industry and knowing people like this, so that the talk is pretty on point, I think. But the big thing about this scene is that we find out more history between Molly and Skylar. We know that they grew up together, living in Arizona, and or lived across the street from her until Skylar had to move to Arizona to live with her aunt. And we find out why Skylar doesn't have any family, and she lost both her parents in a plane crash. Okay. And so Molly and Skylar obviously grew up in Seattle or around there. And then after high school, Molly came down to California, and Skylar didn't. And so, Jane's just a bitch, right? She's the villain in this story. Sorry, I know where this story's going. I'm like, is she the villain? Well, at least off the bat, right? It's not black and white. It's gray. So even things that may appear black and white on the surface, there's a lot more to them than you think. So Jane is basically bashing Seattle. There's some good things back and forth. And then Jane cuts deep and basically says she knows how to keep a man happier than Skylar does. And that gets Skylar pissed. She stands up and what the fuck, and they have to move to the bar. So, boom. Skylar and Jane, conflict, right head on. The very first time we see Jane, the first scene that we see Jane, the end of the scene is her, almost coming to blows with Skylar. And then the next part where they go to the bar, Skylar, we establish, Molly isn't really even that fond of Jane either, and Skylar saying, you better not be turning into this, it just shows where their relationship is at right now, which is important, because this story is all about Skylar and all about her, relationships. And then we see those three businessmen come back up, buying a drink, and now we introduce Chris R. And Chris R. Here's how stupid fucking C-list those bottom fucking feeder producers and people are. I got notes back that I had to change this dude's name. Or eventually I just cut out the first Chris. I cut out that opening scene, which is not also bad as well, But they were too fucking stupid to realize that I named this character Chris for the exact serendipitous reason that the effect that it would have on this character as it would in real life, in a real scene. Like, Chris is a really common name. This is definitely something that could happen. She could meet another Chris, and this Chris is the exact opposite, or the apparent exact opposite of the first Chris. Like, this is like, I don't know, this is good writing, I think. And so I just remember getting that note and being like, you guys don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I don't talk to them anymore. And then we also, and I forgot to mention it before in the restaurant scene, but there's some bugs. There's a bug flying on the burger, and then there's a bug in this guy's drink. Again, we're just keep hitting that bugs thing to the audience, so it's always there. The one of it in the drink doesn't work as well for me, but I still like it. Boom. So she tells her story, and everything's the opposite, right? Where are you from? From Seattle. Chris, I love Seattle. Oh, okay. What else? Should we go join your friends? No, I don't like her friends. One of them's a cunt. Oh, it's Jane, isn't it? Yeah, how'd you know? Oh, she works on set. Oh, I'm a writer. Or what TV show do you work on? No, I work on film. Like, everything that Skylar kind of is assuming, I think, or at least the goal for me in this scene for him was, Skylar's hitting down here with who this guy is, and he's over-delivering. Right? So he's cute, she thinks he's cute, he's charming, he has money, he has a job, blah, 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 blah. And so she's, interacting, doesn't want to engage, doesn't want to fall for him that quickly, that strong. So is keeping the engagement, the conversation very surfacey, but everything that he answers with is over-delivering to her and making him just raising his stock in her eyes. Yeah, and so right here at the end of the scene where Skylar takes a heavy drink of martini. Hey, you want to go dance with me? Sure. And that's when Skylar's decided that she likes this guy. And so then we cut to the dance floor. Here's an interesting thing. Again, like same with like flashbacks, montages. I try to absolutely not use. Again, I was going to be you know, directing this film, and I just knew how I just, you know, play the scene. I have the song picked out, nightclub, and basically just showing that they get drunk, and so, you know, this is how you write a series of shots. This is how you write a montage. I mean, this is how you write a montage if you want to include one in your, you know, Save the Cat or Blake Snyder script. I think they're, just very amateur tools to use, but I used it here. But I still, you know, bent the rule a little bit by the last shot is, you get where I'm going with all this. So I think that's my personal style of adding to the montage. So in this scene, again, a big, lengthy scene, a lot of moving parts, a lot of characters, 2 different locations at the, you know, at the table side and then at the bar. Again, I think I do well with a lot of moving parts and a lot of moving characters, but we give a lot of information here. We find out completely about Skylar's past. You know, we really, after all is said and done, and we move into, and the next scene is when they go back to the to Molly's house and fall asleep, and that's the end of this act. We've given a lot of information, and guess what? 0 deaths, 0. You know, the bugs are there, just kind of in the background, but that's not the important thing. The important thing is the relationship between these girls, and we've gotten a ton of information about 3 characters now, 5 in total. We have, I'd say we have, you know, going back to this, I'd say we know pretty much almost all about Skylar. We know 85% about Molly. Jane maybe only know 50%, because all we've seen of her is she's a cunt. Her star is rising. You know, she's hard to work with on sets. Just kind of negative stuff. One-sided, I will say. But there is a lot more to that character of Jane than just that side, and that's the gray that I'm exploring this. Amber and Heidi are more surfacey, more, you know, 25% of those characters, but even they have their moments. Okay, and so that's it. Oh, I did include that one. I cut this scene with Heidi and Skylar. Oh yeah, that's right. I didn't read the last scene. It's actually to 36. And that's again, this was something that was cut out, whittling down, but Molly has a secret as well. Yep. And so basically Skylar's going to the bathroom. So after the dance and Chris and everything, we end that whole scene with the great little piece of information that and we get to see Heidi more, but she tells Skylar that Molly's had a pretty rough past year too. It's good that you guys get to catch up. And Skylar doesn't know what she's talking about. And Heidi, oh, Hollywood bullshit. And so Skylar just, well, I mean, she's drunk first of all, so, you know, whatever. And she's like, oh yeah, bullshit. Yeah, she's had a rough year too. Yeah, not regarding it of anything. And then dissolve. And then we're into the living room at night, and well, let's go ahead and I'll stop it right here and then read this last scene, starting at the bottom of page 36. Alright, so that last little scene, I forgot how good this script gets. I forgot about Molly's secret. Okay, so Molly and Skylar come home. She's talking, she's obviously head over heels about Chris. I mean, right now we are 37 pages in, and if if I didn't show those bugs, you know, in the scenes, and very well don't need them, it just kind of goes with the theme. But like this is drama, right? This is just relationships. This is drama. This is love, loss, things of that nature. This isn't jump scares. This isn't scary bugs, people screaming. Nope, none of that. You haven't seen anybody die. No screaming, blood, like that. We open, we know where it's going because we opened with the showing the motel and the blood and the carnage and this voiceover, this you know, doing. But like, good God, we're 37 pages in, and for me, from my perspective, where my head goes is, if this is good writing, if this is entertaining writing, which is feeding us the bits of information that we need, like I was talking about, keeping us, the audience, interested enough and engaged enough to continue going, which I believe that it is. You know, sans a few edits here and there, but it's an entertaining read, and 37 pages in, and we know where it's going to end. How the fuck are we going to get there? That's what I love to see in a script and a story, in a film, all that kind of stuff. Is like, how are we going to get there? You know, like, it's so good. I want to spend more time with these characters, but then we throw in an event that changes everything. It's cool. But yet these relationships are still established. So now, how are these relationships going to work after this big event? They get better, worse, you know. I like it. And now no one's safe, because we end this scene, right? Skylar's drunk, like blackout drunk, and the last thing that she says is, you know, Skylar's already, good night, okay. Molly bent down and kisses her forehead. Molly, good night, Sky, I love you. Skylar's already practically asleep. Skylar, love you too. I'm sorry you had a bad year. Molly stops and looks at Skylar. What do you mean? Skylar's unresponsive. Molly brushes away and turns the lights off. She walks to her room. That's a great way to end it, because it sets up, you know, for this moment to happen again, for this confrontation to happen, because obviously something happened to Molly and she didn't tell Skylar, and Skylar's supposed to be her best friend. You know, when something horrible happened to Skylar, she turned to Molly. So why didn't Molly turn to Skylar when something bad happened to her? Relationships, gray, not black and white, gray. Anyway, so that's the end of that act, Act 2. And I think this is going to be, I think I'm going to call it for this video. I'm going to end it there at Act 2, at page 39. And so, yeah, maybe I'll just include the script. I don't know. We'll see. I'll see what I'm going to link in the description below. But if this was helpful, insightful, if you'd like to see more of this, please just leave a comment. If one person leaves a comment saying they'd like to see more, I will make another video. If yeah. So how about just that? If just one person would like to see me make another one of these videos, leave a comment. And if somebody leaves a comment saying they'd like to see it, and it's not my mom or somebody else I know, just to, you know, so they can see my face again, somebody who, let's say, is new to the channel, that newly subscribed, or if you leave a comment and subscribe to the channel, then I will know that you are not an existing member. So, new member, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet and you got some value out of this and you'd like to see me continue on with Act 1 and 2, which is what we covered up to page 39. It's a 116-page script, so if you'd like to see me continue to make these videos, please subscribe to my channel and leave a comment below on this video. And if I see that, at least one person who subscribed to my channel and left a comment, I'll go ahead and make another video. So, alright, that's it. And thanks for watching. In the meantime, take this time to look inside, and like I've said before, if you're able to, you know, whatever, if you have any sort of frustrations or things in your life before any of this virus and everything happened, before, you know, the quarantine or anything like that, you know, I think you should really take this time to self-reflect and when you put that mirror on yourself, man, and you start to put your own shit into your work, whatever that may be, writing, singing, drawing, anything. Everybody has a creative side, or a thinking side. Like, go internal. And this is coming from someone with bipolar disorder and who's fucking out of their batshit minds crazy. And I'm telling you, go internal. Go inside. I think it's a safe place when you are able to make it a safe, when you're able to, I don't know, when you're able to make that connection between, you know, creative side of your brain and this practical bullshit three-dimensional world that we live in that's been just so confused for such a long time, that I think when you really look inside, you'll find inspiration. And with inspiration comes motivation to do something that you love, and when you're doing something you love, I believe that leads to happiness. So let's all do it together. Yeah, okay, that's it. I'll quit going on. Remember, one new person, subscribe to my channel and leave a comment below on this video, and I'll make another one of these. In the meantime, go write your story. RynoRyder out. Peace.